A warm welcome to the hrtech.sg Demo Hour series. We started the Demo Hour to bring the HR community together to promote and evangelize the adoption of HR technologies, where we bring high quality demos by leading HR tech solution providers servicing the Singapore marketplace. About hrtech.sg, we are a Singapore headquartered HR tech market development and advisory firm. We help Singapore enterprises in identifying the HR tech solutions, and we also help local and overseas HR tech service providers in defining the go to market strategy. We do so by providing three key services: HR Tech trends through our blogs, reports, and research articles, HR Tech advisory services, and HR Tech Marketplace, which is Singapore's first and exclusive curated marketplace for HR Tech solution providers to enable the enterprises to choose the best solutions for their needs. We have also published the Singapore HR Tech Market Map in collaboration with Adrian Tan, a leading HR Tech blogger and influencer. The 2020 version of the Market Map has 8 categories of HR Tech solutions across the various domains of talent acquisition, HRMS, talent engagement, talent development, talent operations, talent rewards, talent analytics, and the newly added talent planning. You can know more about the HR Tech Market Map through our website www.hrtech.sg. The inaugural session of hrtech.sg Demo Hour was on HR Tech solutions in the talent engagement and performance management space, followed by talent acquisition and candidate experience solutions, and lastly, total employee experience. Now we are bringing hrtech.sg Demo Hour in a webinar format. In the first episode of the webinar series is on employee background screening checks by Kannan Chettiar, Managing Director of Avvanz. Kannan today would be speaking to you on what background checks are, why they are important, and how Avvanz as a solution is helping automate the otherwise tedious background check process. Over to you, Kannan.
Hello there. Welcome to Avvanz webinar on leveraging technology for background checks. My name is Kannan Chettiar. I'm a Managing Director and co-founder of Avvanz. Great having you in this webinar. Before I talk about background checks, let me quickly introduce myself and the company. I've worked in the tech industry a big part of my life, leading SBUs and people in various parts of the globe. And the people-related problems are always the same, whichever part of the globe you are in. And drawing upon the experiences, I co-founded Avvanz about 4 years ago. And with that experience, I've actually sort of worked on leveraging technology to hire, screen, onboard, and develop people. And that's what I'm going to be sharing in this webinar. A quick slide on Avvanz. Our main business is employee lifecycle management with 3 business pillars. First pillar is Screen, whereby we help companies to background check their candidates and employees to make sure that everyone is calibrated to the same level of integrity and security. We also help using AI to actually vet resumes in minutes, use chatbot, video bot to do the interviewing and rank the top resumes you should check out. So after you screen for hires, next you want to make sure that they are integrated well and they become productive really soon, which is why leveraging technology for onboarding is critical. And then using technology to train and develop them in addition to the face-to-face training and development as well. So this is where we would use e-learning, virtual learning, as well as AR, VR technologies to learn as well. The focus of this webinar is mainly on background checks. So let's now talk about it. Based on experience, we've seen that out of every 10 resumes, at least about 3 of them have some kind of problems with doubtful integrity and security issues. People could be lying about their experiences. Worse, they could have criminal background or bankruptcy, or even maybe drug trafficking or money laundering, political exposure, a lot of these issues which they've not declared. The other big problem in this part of the world is faking of educational certificates, I guess, to get the peer pressure of getting the right job. And all these contribute to resume discrepancies, which means you can have potential reputational, financial, and security damages to the company. So it's important that you know who you hire, because you do not know what you don't know, right? So it's very important that you get the safe and the right person on board. Here you can see some of the high profile examples of cases whereby hires went wrong. I'm sure you can also remember the famous Catch Me If You Can movie as well. So it's very important to have background checks, regardless of whatever role, whatever risk your role poses, and whatever industry you come from. So it's critical to verify the identity, credibility, experiences, make sure your compliance obligations relating to your industry or your company are met. And there's also studies which show that background check individuals tend to stay with the company for a longer period of time. So which means you can reduce staff attrition as well. So with this managed, well, you can we have actually proven for companies that you can have multiple times ROI, because you are reducing financial damages, reputation damages, and on top of it, your staff turnover reduce. With all these metrics in place, background screening is definitely an exercise that should be built with your recruitment as well. Before I show you Avvanz Gold Medal awarded Screen Global platform where you can easily order background checks, it's important for you to know the types of checks in the process as well. So this actually shows the first level, which is a security firewall, I like to call it, whereby there's a whole range of criminal, finance, identity checks that you can do. Of course, you don't do all checks on everyone. It really depends on the risk the specific role or function poses. And in addition to the security checks, I'll call these set of checks the integrity checks. Of course, these checks take a little bit longer. So we cover 150 countries. So it's important that when you do a check, you're able to completely vet the background based on where the individual has studied, worked, or lived in. So now with that knowledge, let's get to the platform. So this is where we're going to show you how a case request or a HR can go about creating a case in the Screen Global platform. So this is a HR screen or a case requester screen when a HR would go about ordering a background check on an individual. You might know that it's a little bit like Lazada or Alibaba, Amazon experience, whereby you can just select the checks. It tells you what is the check about, how does it work in the country, and the price, right? And of course, this is entry level price. So let's say you are ABC company and you have multiple branches, right? So you can set branches, right? Like this, right? You could have multiple branches, multiple SBUs, and we can set up the hierarchy as the way you want it. And then when you place a case, when you create a case, which is here, back to this earlier screen I showed, you can select the risk level that individual poses, or you can even create package specific to your company, right? You can have different packages like a management package, mid management, and so on and so forth. And then put in the candidate's name and email. And after that, here it tells you how the check is done. So let's say this specific individual has lived in 3 different countries in the last, let's say you want to check for last 10 years, right? So you can select Australia, and it tells you how the check is done in Australia, what kind of documents you need. And then click the plus, and then this individual could have also lived in Singapore, right? Or maybe still residing in Singapore. And of course, Singapore, you can't do full criminal check, but the criminality check options, and it tells you exactly how that is done. You can click on the plus again, right? and then add another country, let's say Thailand, right? So in the last 10 years, this individual has lived in 3 different countries, and it tells you exactly how the checks are done in this country. And it also tells you what are the documents needed. So as you go on, there's civil litigation check, social media. This is probably a very important check to do because every other check I showed you earlier are historical checks, in other words, past committed checks. But social media is only one which is an ongoing behavior, which is important for you to know because you want to know what the individual is talking about on social media. It could be misrepresenting your brand of the company or the management. So here we look for potentially unlawful activity, sexually explicit content, potential violent behavior, racism, and demonstration of intolerance. So based on what the individual has posted, liked, shared, commented, or even allow himself or herself to be tagged in. So all that will come out in the social media. And of course, level 2 will give you even more coverage, right? And then you have conflicting directorships, drug testing, really important now, bankruptcy checks, credit, this all under the financial checks, right? Financial regulatory, like for example, is there a negative alert on this person in MAS, Monetary Authority Singapore, or HKMA, whatever it is, right? Again, like what I earlier said, 150 over countries coverage is here. Education certificates, qualifications, memberships, employment details. You need to know whether the individuals joining and leaving dates are accurate, right? So even if you were to do this yourself, please make sure you do it thoroughly because we have seen a lot of individuals faking the joining living dates and even giving false names for employment, HR or supervisor. They could be giving their friends' names as a HR. So calling to the main line of the company and verify that this HR or supervisor are real people, then after authenticating it, then you actually verify the credentials with that supervisor or HR respectively, right? So that's very important. And then similarly for employment performance as well, right? And then resume comparison check. So a lot of the times we've noted that when they send you the resume, it's a bit inflated. But when you onboard them and they start inputting the candidate details in our platform, they decide to be more honest. And that's the time we actually catch discrepancies. So that's what resume comparison check is all about. ID and passport, verify whether they're real. Address, are they really living there? Do they have the legal right to work? And if they have a driving license which is valid, especially the job requires for it, right? So this is all how the checks work. And then of course, you can select whichever years of case, like some even want more than 10 years. We've seen some companies want checks to be done since 18 years of age. So we work with various industries, various companies around the globe, and the needs are quite different based on the geography, the industry. So we can give you some advice on what the right mix of checks to do, right? And of course, because of data privacy, candidate needs to upload the letter of consent, right? A signed letter of consent, abiding by PDPA, or it could be GDPR or FCRA in the US. And it's important for always to declare whether it's okay to let the previous employer know whether it's it's okay to reveal your company name in case there is some competitive sensitivities, right? So once you've entered all the checks that you want, and then you create the case, the candidate will get a welcome email. And once you've created the case, you can actually see the cases in insufficient data cases as well. And again, if it's you can select the option of whether you want the candidate to fill the data or you want to fill the data for the candidate, right? Or if it's a self-screening individual, like a contractor coming in, they also can use this platform. And after that, once the report is done, they can show it to you before they come into your campus. It could be a security, it could be your cleaning contractor, whatever it is, right? So when the candidate gets a welcome email, once you've created the case, they will be, so what I've just showed you is the case request or the HR interface. So now it's the candidate's interface. So candidate will see tabs in accordance with the checks. For example, if you have ordered employment and education checks, on the left panel here, you will see employment and education tabs for them to fill up. And if it's address information, the right, for example, if you select Australia here, in the upload documents tab, Australia specific forms will come up. So there's always country specific documents to be filled up. And instead of having it all through emails to and fro, which will increase the turnaround time, as well as it becomes very cumbersome and onerous sometimes, we try to manage everything through the screen level platform. So within the platform, based on whatever information you've entered in the earlier tabs, you will be able to get all the necessary forms that you need to fill out, whether it's a consent letter or maybe if it's a Japanese consent or Chinese consent. So all that will pop up here automatically. And once you fill up and upload, the HR or the case requester will get an email saying that your case is ready to check out. So you can have a final view as whether this is good to go. Again, the prices you see here are the entry level prices. Of course, um, you will get discounts based on your volume run rate as well, right? And once you check this, and once you're happy with this cart, you can check it out here. And the moment you check it out, it becomes a processing order. That's the time Avvanz team picks it up, and we will start working on those checks, right? So, and the moment it's checked out, you can start monitoring the order real time. So even before all the checks get completed, some of the checks might be completed earlier. For example, if you need a visa, you need to get a visa for the employee coming in from a foreign country and you want the criminal check to be done first, you can actually see the progress here. So you get the full checks information, whatever is entered by the candidate, it's all here, as well as the documents uploaded by the candidate, and whatever documents are uploaded by our verification team. So all that will appear automatically in the report itself. So you can download them, you can print, you can save it. And this platform is hosted on AWS, Amazon Web Services. So it sits on the cloud. You can actually retrieve it anytime. And it's also secure. It's ISMS 27001 compliant. And the reason why a lot of companies outsource background screening to companies like us is because of the liability as well, which is why we indemnify you against any kind of liability, right? So you can be assured that we take care of that, and it's always compliant with the data privacy laws. Once the order is complete, you'll get a completed order cases. It will show up in this tab. And if there's a specific report, if there's like 200-300 reports, if let's say you're ordering 200-300 cases a week, you might actually be thinking, oh, there's so many reports for me to take a look at one by one. So here, the beauty of this platform is, if there's a discrepancy in that specific report, it will show up as a red. So those reports with discrepancy will show up in red. The whole row will show up in red. So those are the ones you need to open up and take a look. But of course, you can always download the whole thing, all the reports in an Excel format as well. So it's always important for you to know in terms of overall view. It could be a regional or global view of cases you've ordered by branch, how many cases you've got, how many you've ordered, how many are ready for processing. In other words, the HR needs to take a look at it and then check it out. And then how many are processing ordered cases, in other words, the in order stage, and how many are completed. So it's good for you to have that overall view, and so that you can report into the management or the business line on what's happening. So we've taken care of the liability, the data privacy, the data protection, security aspects of the whole thing, which is very important. And these are the reasons why you typically outsource a background screening. If, of course, you have all these measures in place, that's something you can do it yourself as well. And of course, background screening can be complex because every country got its own regulatory compliance requirements. Regulations are different. Data consent verbiage is different. And it can be very difficult to do in some other countries, especially in the African continent and Europe. And you need multi-language capabilities as well. So this is where technology and a background screening provider like Avvanz can help for you to make sure that you really strengthen your recruitment. And for you to really know who you hire, right? And I'm sure you have a lot of questions on this because some of you might not have been exposed to the myriad of background checks that you can possibly do on an individual. And because we have experiences working with multiple industries around the globe, we'll be glad to help you. So do feel free to drop us a note at consult@avvanz.com for any kind of queries, non-obligatory chat or consultation on how you can strengthen your recruitment processes. Thank you very much.